Hello everybody, this is Todd Frazee and this is the stop block dimension tutorial. We're going to bring together some concepts that you used before with name views and viewports to create the auxiliary views for this drawing. Now the example drawing that I have up is one that was provided to me. I disagree a little bit with some of how it's developed. I think the scale's a little large. And it's on Seaside Sheet, which is fine, but we should be leaving some room for our revision block to expand here. And it looks a little crowded to me, so in my example, I'm going to go a little bit smaller scale, use the same sheet size. And you can elect to do your auxiliary views as they've shown, which is a full auxiliary view with a broken out line with hidden lines. Or you can elect to do just the plane that's being clarified, and that's the route I'm going to take, where we may still have a breakout section on it, but I won't be displaying all the hidden lines that are in the plane of viewing for the two auxiliary views. So we're going to set it up more or less the same view pattern as what we have here. So we got a front, a top, auxiliary off the back or the slot side, an auxiliary of the dovetail, and then an isometric place where we got room for it. So, okay, so let's go to AutoCAD, and we have our model ready to go. And make sure you switch from perspective to parallel if it defaulted in that. Okay, now if we'd planned ahead, we could have named views ahead of time when we built the model. I did not do that. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the exercise of recreating those. So we're going to go to UCS. I'm going to select the same edges we used originally. So our origin was there with a positive X to the right and our third point for our UCS. Now if we go to plan, type PLAN, and we're going to use the current UCS, and we'll be looking straight in on it at the same angle as the plane. And now we're going to label the UCS. So let's name this one Dovetail, and we'll select OK. Now we will go to the Visualize tab, and we're going to go to View Manager, and we're going to create a model view. That new model view we're also going to call Dovetail. Dovetail aux for auxiliary. Okay, so we want to save the snapshot with our UCS as Dovetail, and the current visual style is fine. We'll select OK, and it adds it to our list. We'll select OK, or Apply, and then OK. Now let's go set up our UCF and view for the slot side. So we can go back to a home view, and let's rotate around to the view that we'd be looking at our auxiliary view at. And we're going to create our UCS, dynamic UCS, and this left corner will be our origin. Go right for the X direction, and then another point in the plane for Y. Okay, now we're going to type plan. And we'll be looking straight in at the view. We want to go ahead and save this UCS, so we're going to call this one slot. And accept that name, set as current, and hit OK. So now we're looking at view UCS. Now what we will do is we're going to go back to the visualize, and we're going to go to the view manager and create a new view using this angle here. So it's going to be a model view. We're going to create a new one. We'll call this slot auxiliary or aux. And we want to make sure our UCS is also on slot, and we're going to leave everything else as current as default. Okay. And apply. And OK. All right. Now we can return to those views when we're ready to do so. Let's go to a home position and make sure you're in parallel. Let's start with setting up our primary views. So if we go back to our plan, we need a view for the front and a view for the top. And then we're going to have an isometric of the model. So we're going to follow the same procedure that we've been using, and it's in the handouts. Process for development orthographic views on a model. We're going to start with that and do our two primary views, our front and our top. Okay, so we're going to go back to home. Okay, so we are in the model space like we're supposed to. We're going to set our world coordinate systems to world, and then we're going to go to a front view. We'll make the front view first. Before we go any farther, we want to go and do some things with the view, our layers here. We want to set our current layer as profile and visible lines. Freeze the pictorial and view dimensions for now. Okay, now we're going to type the flat shot command. And that is step 7 on the procedure. And we're going to insert as a new block. We're going to do it by layer for color. Line type continuous. We're going to show obscured lines. We're going to be by layer, and we're going to have a hidden line type. I'm going to say create. We want to zoom out, and we want to place this view far away. That way we've got plenty of room to space our other views. Okay, scale is 1:1 with a rotation angle of 0. Okay, and we should have the front view there with its hidden lines. Okay, we're also going to show a top view. So let's go to the top view. Okay, so we're at step 12 in our procedure. We're going to go flat shot. Okay, leave all our settings as they were. And then drag our view way off so that we've got plenty of space. Scale factor of 1:1 and a rotation angle of 0. So we have those two views set up. now we're going to go and set up our two auxiliary views. So let's go to our named views, and let's do the dovetail first. So we go to the dovetail shot, and we're going to type flat shot. Now, because I plan on just doing the plane without hidden lines of the auxiliary view, because I intend on just doing a view that shows the plane of auxiliary view without hidden lines, I'm going to deselect this showing obscured items. Now we're going to have to heavily edit this view anyway, so it's your choice. I'm not going to grade it one way or the other, but whether you show hidden lines or not. But in my opinion, you're trying to clarify just a detail with an auxiliary view and not clarify visualization of the entire part, especially if it's only going to show a portion of the part. So let's hit create. And I'm going to throw this view way over here on the other side so it doesn't compete with the top view. And scale factor of 1 to 1 with a rotation angle of 0. Okay, so we have one more flat shot to make. And we're going to switch our view from dovetail to slot aux. And we're looking straight in at our auxiliary view of the slot face. Okay, we're going to type flat shot. Okay, we're going to take the same settings I did with my other auxiliary view, and we'll throw this guy away. Let's throw him way up here. Scale factor 1 to 1, rotation of 0. All right, so we've made all our flat shots. So at this point, we're on step 21 in our procedure, and we want to freeze the model layer. We don't want to move our model or alter it. Okay, now we're going to go and we're going to use the multi-view C sheet size. Okay, so we're at step 24 and we're going to zoom extent. So you're going to double click in each viewport and type zoom. Oops, that wasn't zoom, was it? And we're going to do extents and it'll zoom all the way out. Double click in the next one, repeat the command. Double click on the next one, repeat the command, type E. Okay, so we've done that in all three of our current viewports. I'm going to focus on these two first viewports and get our two initial views placed first. Then we're going to go through a process of trimming those viewports, and we may need to insert an additional viewport. So here we go. We're going to we zoom extents in these two views. Now we need to roughly center the view. So this viewport in the bottom is going to be our front. So we want this view down here. And make sure it's set on front. And let's pan to where we're looking at the part about like so. And I suspect we're going to need to have this in this somewhat upper right part of the viewport here. Okay, let's do the same thing to the top. And we're going to probably need to place this towards the bottom. Hopefully we get enough room for dimensions. In fact, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to go back to the bottom viewport here for the front view. And I'm going to move that down and to the right. I'm trying to leave room right here for our auxiliary view, which is going to occur up here on the top. And then if we place this view on the right side of things, then we can put our auxiliary view perhaps in this viewport here. And right now I'm going to probably reserve this viewport for the isometric, which isn't visible right now, so it's irrelevant. So get it into a decent size. Again, I'm going to go a little smaller scale than what was on the example. Okay, and this part was drawn an inch. So let's go through our scale factors. Okay, we have the first viewport, front view. And I'm going to pick on a scale factor of 1 to 1. That's too big. Let's do 1 to 2. That's too big. Let's go down to 1 to 4. I think that's actually going to be okay. Let's do 1 to 4. That's smaller than what we had in the previous. So we're going to click our other viewport and we're going to change that to 1 to 4 as well. Okay, so I'm going to readjust these. I don't want them in the center of the viewport. Okay, I'm going to hold off on doing any exploding, and then we're going to try to get our other views positioned. Alright, so instead of having a southeast isometric, we're going to go to the custom view of the slot auxiliary in this view. Okay, we zoom extents, and we're going to be looking for our auxiliary view, which is here. Get that centered, and we're going to change our scale to be 1 to 4 to match the others. Okay, now it's time to set the spacing and align the auxiliary view with the view it's projected from. And so we need to first do a rotate and then set the spacing, and the rotate will set the angle to match the plane of projection. And we're going to use the MV setup command again, and we're going to use an align. And this time we're going to use the rotate view command, and we need to select on a corner to pivot about. And so I typically like to use the O-snaps for this, but we're going to select a corner, and then we're going to type in 120 degrees. And so that should rotate at first 90 and then the extra 30 degrees to match the angle of the flange. And we're going to hit enter. So our auxiliary view is now at the correct angle. It is not spaced in the correct place. We're going to do that next. So we're going to do an angled alignment, and you need to go to the parent viewport first and click on a reference point, which is going to be the corner. And then once you've selected that, you go back to the other viewport with the view that you want to move. And you're going to select the corresponding corner in that viewport. Once you've done that, that's the aligning the base points. Now it's asking you how far you want. Now it's going to vary. On mine in model space, they were about 10 inches away. You may have to do this a couple times to get the spacing correct. and then it's going to ask for an angle, and that's the angle at which the tilt is, and it's 30 degrees in this case.